Antarctica, a continent cloaked in silence, sealed beneath miles of unforgiving ice. To most, it's a barren wilderness, untouched, unexplored, inhospitable. But what if that's exactly the point? What if its isolation isn't accidental, but intentional? Over decades, whispers have emerged, stories of unexplainable sightings, forbidden areas, and encounters that were never meant to be shared. It begins with what we're not allowed to see. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my new videos. Now that you are subscribed, let's dive in. Antarctica isn't lawless, it's carefully locked down. Under the Antarctic Treaty System, more than 50 countries agreed to preserve the continent for peaceful research. But behind the language of cooperation is something more opaque. Satellite images show large swaths of the continent blurred or blacked out, especially near the Transantarctic mountains. Certain locations are marked as permanently off-limits, even to scientists. Flight paths are strictly controlled. No-fly zones exist where no base is listed and no explanation is given. Insiders claim that aircraft approaching these zones are met with immediate radio silence or worse, redirected with force. One former radar operator revealed that his team tracked an object hovering inside one of these zones for hours. No aircraft, no transponder. It simply floated and then disappeared. So what are they protecting? And more importantly, why? In 1985, Navy pilot Brian S. was flying routine support missions in a C-130 Hercules. Cargo drops, fuel runs, basic stuff, at least on paper. But during one flight, known only as Flight 87, everything changed. A brutal whiteout storm forced Brian and his crew to reroute. Their only option was to pass through a no-fly zone, previously designated as an air quality research corridor. Only there was never any equipment in the area. No towers, no instruments, just ice. What they saw next would stay with them for the rest of their lives. Below them, a perfectly round hole, easily the size of a football stadium. But it wasn't natural. The edges were too clean. There were lights, dim and bluish, emitting from within. And lining the perimeter were objects like vehicles, but sleek and dark. No wheels, no visible propulsion, almost melted into the snow. Then came the figures, dozens of them, walking in slow, synchronized patterns around the opening. Their proportions seemed off, too thin, their arms too long, movements fluid but unnatural. Some carried equipment, others simply stood still, as if they were watching the sky. No radio chatter, no acknowledgement, just cold, mechanical motion. Brian said it felt like flying over an entirely different world. And when they landed, everything went silent. A few weeks later, a separate U.S. research base, located hundreds of miles away, went dark. 15 scientists disappeared. No outgoing messages, no emergency signals. The only clue, a final transmission intercepted by a nearby base. Just 5 words, garbled and urgent. They're coming up from below. Search teams launched immediately. When they arrived, they found an abandoned camp. Tents collapsed, equipment fried, footprints ending abruptly at the edge of a nearby crevasse. Then 2 weeks later, the scientists returned. No explanation, no memory, or so they claimed. But they weren't the same. Medical officers noted disorientation, intense light sensitivity, and a collective emotional detachment. They spoke rarely, avoided eye contact, and flinched at the sound of engines. One researcher, a geologist named Arlen Pierce, was overheard muttering in a language no one recognized. He later collapsed into a seizure. His last words before slipping into unconsciousness: "They are not dead, they sleep beneath." After that, the base was quarantined, equipment confiscated. The scientists were flown out, destination unknown. No official report was ever released. Brian S. remained silent for years until others began to speak. A former technician claimed to have decoded thermal satellite scans showing underground heat anomalies the size of cities. An engineer spoke of massive magnetic interference zones capable of disabling electronic equipment. A meteorologist saw blue orbs floating above the ice shelf, orb-like crafts that silently zipped away when approached. None of these people knew each other, but their stories matched. Each piece, another thread in a larger tapestry of hidden truths. Then came the threats. Brian received anonymous calls at night, static-filled messages warning him to stay quiet. One whistleblower's dog was found dead. Another suffered a break-in, nothing stolen, but his hard drives were destroyed. They believe this isn't just military secrecy. They believe there's a multinational effort backed by treaties, money, and silence to keep Antarctica's secrets buried. The deeper you dig, the older this story gets. The Peary Race map, drawn in 1513, depicts Antarctica's coastline without ice. Mainstream historians call it coincidence, but geologists argue the last time Antarctica was ice-free was over 60 years ago. So how did ancient cartographers know what it looked like? Some believe civilizations once existed there, swept away by the Earth's changing axis. Ruins found beneath the ice support this theory. Perfectly geometric patterns, stone blocks too precise for erosion. In 2016, a seismic imaging survey conducted under the guise of climate research detected massive subglacial anomalies, rectangular structures buried over a mile below the surface. When asked, the team responsible went dark. The data vanished. If Antarctica had once been the home of an advanced civilization, what forced them underground? And are they still down there? Speculations vary. Some believe Antarctica hides an ancient extraterrestrial base, possibly a crash site or worse, a refuge. Others think it's a portal, an entryway to another realm, another dimension, accessible only through precise geographic alignment. There's even a theory that claims the beings seen in the no-fly zones are not aliens at all, but descendants of a lost race, pre-human, ancient, evolved in secret. Brian once said this in an anonymous interview. "I don't think we discovered anything in Antarctica. I think we just stumbled in, like ants walking into someone else's house." The melting ice isn't just a climate concern, it's a countdown. And when the final layers disappear, the truth will rise with it. So, what is Antarctica? A frozen land of peace and science? Or a heavily guarded vault containing the remnants of something humanity isn't ready to face? One thing's for sure, it's not just what lies beneath the ice that haunts us, it's the silence. Because sometimes, the most terrifying thing is what we're not allowed to know.